Hello and welcome to the Camnet. Welcome to the Camnet TV Breakfast Show, right here on Camnet TV. My name is Messi Chanika and I'm joined by the beautiful Prudence Chota.
Yes, Messi, good morning to all the Camnet viewer. This is a beautiful morning that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Oh, pardon me, I don't know what's happening this morning, but it's a beautiful morning anyway. So this is the breakfast show that comes to your set every morning from Monday to Saturday, from 07 hours to 09 hours. We sincerely apologize for starting this program slightly late. This was due to circumstances beyond our control, but we are, of course, looking at the current affairs of what is happening around in the country, and we are going to have some viewers in studio where we're going to discuss a lot of important things. And for you, the viewer who's watching us home, or maybe on the gadget, or maybe perhaps you are traveling and you're watching us on your gadget, you can send through those messages through WhatsApp, because this program is being streamed live on WhatsApp, as well as you can call through the lines that are on the screen throughout this program. We hope to interact with you to solve some of the challenges that are happening around. Most of the solutions of what happened around are with you, the people, and we bring you this program so that we can give you a platform where you can air some of the solutions that you have to the challenges that we are facing as a country, as well as some of the grievances that you have. Remember, stakeholders are watching, and it is up to you to make those submissions. So, Messi, this morning, I don't know if you did exercise before coming for work?
I actually did exercise. I tried a lot of some of the workouts in the morning. I tried, because last time I was here on the show, Mr. Soko was like, walking is not a good exercise. You should try it, working out a bit. So I tried a bit of that before I could take a shower.
Of course, when we come to this program every morning, we emphasize the need to exercise. Remember, you cannot do your daily activities if at all you are not in good shape. That's why it's always important for you to exercise and keep fit. So even right about now, we are going to go into our morning boost. If you cannot afford to exercise at this time, you can go through this program at your later stage and just go to the morning boost so that you can keep fit. Remember, we need you healthy, and of course, Zambia needs a productive person. Let's get to see what we have today on the morning boost.
Good morning, Camnet viewers, and welcome to Morning Boost. I'm so glad that you've tuned in. Let's do some simple basic workouts for you to stay fit and you go about your day. All right, so we'll start with a warm-up for a minute. Let's go. That's 1 minute warm-up to warm up your body. Relax your muscles. Let's bounce. Let's go. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and how are you? It's good. So it's going to be a 1 minute warm-up. Just a warm-up. Let's go. Almost there. Okay, we're gonna run now. Let's go. So we're gonna work out for 3 minutes, and thereafter we'll do a cool down. We're cooling down. Let's go. See what I'm doing? That's the movement of my feet. That. I need that from you. Let's go. Let's run. Let's go. Very basic today. Keep going. And 4, 3, 2, march now. Okay, that was your first workout. Let's go to the next one. Kicks now. 1. Kick. and let the blood circulate on your legs. Let's go. 3 minutes workout. After that, you do a cool down. Kick. Let's go. Kick. Bring it to the knee now. Knee high. Squeeze the tummy when you do that. Let's go. Squeeze here. Go. Squeeze here. That's the part I'm working on. Let's go. Easy. Back to running now. Let's go. You need this every morning. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Go. And kick now. Kick, side kick. This side. Back. This side. Kick. Go. Lift your leg high and kick. Go. 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 And that's all you need every morning. Let's conclude now. Let's go. And let's run. Let's run. Bring in the kick now. Kick. Kick. Again. Kick. Bring it to the knee now. Knee. Knee. Last kicks. This one. And this one. This one. Let's go. And marching. Very simple what you've done today. Looks like you have not done anything, and yet it's able to work out. Let's march. Let's go. You're almost there. It's almost 5 minutes of a workout. So thank you so much for tuning in. Basic workouts in there today, and have a blessed day. And I'm signing out. My name is Isaac Matsa.
Thank you so much for still staying tuned to Camnet TV, not just another channel. We care about you. That's why we bring you that episode of the Morning Boost every morning from Monday to Saturday, where we just exercise and keep fit. Remember, if you don't have that money to pay for a gym, unfortunately, you can be watching the Morning Boost, where you can just be exercising with Mr. Isaac, and of course you get to be fit. So that is the Morning Boost message this morning. I know you've already mentioned to the fact that you did exercise before coming for work. Yes, I hope you're not just saying this for the sake of TV.
No, I am not. I actually did exercise. I've been trying to get more active, I would say. Get more active in terms of physical fitness.
Not lose some weight?
What's there to lose? Yeah.
I just don't know. In Africa, in Zambia, you know the funny part? You hear people when they start going to the gym, they'll tell you, I'm going to the gym because I want to lose weight. I don't know why we just have a mentality. People actually go to the gym in order to lose weight.
But you can actually be healthy and very fit, but not necessarily slim or...
yeah, exercising is not necessarily about you becoming slim. I think this is a point which we miss as people. Yeah. Exercising is not about you being slim. No, exercising actually is about you keeping health, keeping yourself health and strong. Remember, when you're not health, it's very difficult for you to do your daily activities. It's very difficult for you to achieve your goals. I don't know if you do set up goals for the day when you wake up in the morning, Mercy. Yeah. Yeah, because when you wake up in the morning, the first thing that you have to do as a human is to set up what are the goals for my day, how am I going to achieve them. But if you're not in a health condition, it's very difficult for you to achieve that. That's why we bring you the morning boost so that you can exercise and keep fit. You need to be fit in order for you to do almost all your daily plans and activities. And talking about, again, being healthy, we are going to go to the doctor's corner to see what they have in store for us. Apart from exercising, also you need to have regular checks about yourself to see how fit your body is. We don't want to no, I think we are seeing an increase in such cases, Mercy, where people just die sudden death because you have maybe a illness, yeah, which you're not even aware of, because we don't like check on what is happening around. That's why Camnet TV cares for you, our viewer, and every morning we get to listen to what the doctors have to say on this program. So even right about now, we are going to go to the doctor's corner, and we have Dr. Chelo Mwanza from the Medical Women's Association of Zambia, who's talking about vaccinations. Let's get to hear.
Good morning. Welcome to the health segment. I'm Dr. Chelo Mwanza, a member of the Medical Women Association of Zambia. The health segment is brought to you happily by the Medical Women Association of Zambia. This week, we're looking at the importance and components of the under 5 clinics. So far, we've looked at growth monitoring and nutrition. We've looked at how we can get these foods locally and we can promote our children's health, because these local foods are readily available and they're healthy. We do not need to give them exotic foods. Remember, a good health or diet will cause your child to develop as they are supposed to. It will enhance their brain development and even their intellectual as they start growing, as they continue to grow. Today, we're going to look at vaccinations and vitamin supplementation. I should commend our guardians out there, because you have been very committed in having your children vaccinated. We commend you and job well done. So, what are these vaccines? Why should we give the child all these vaccines? So vaccines help us prevent a child from getting some illnesses, and sometimes it may help the child not to get very sick from this particular disease that we're vaccinating against. Vaccines also help prevent the spread of diseases from one child to another. So some of these vaccines are given immediately the child is born until at about the age of 1 year, 6 months. So expect that your child should have gotten all the vaccines or immunizations according to the Zambian schedule at the age of 1 year, 6 months. In total, a child is supposed to get about 15 doses. Of course, others are combined and they're given at almost the same time, but if we are to count them one by one, this child is protected against about 15 illnesses. And so we're going to look at how these vaccines are scheduled when we look at our under 5 card. To start with, the first vaccine that a child gets is the BCG, the one that's injected on the arm. This vaccine protects your child from getting severe forms of tuberculosis. So that's tuberculosis affecting the brain, affecting their hearts, and so forth and so on. So your child needs to have gotten this vaccine immediately after birth or within the first 1 month of being born. Again, at birth, we expect that your child can also get what we call OPV 0. So OPV 0 is usually 0 to 4. So it means your child needs to get about 3 doses of this OPV vaccine. Now we also have the IPV. This vaccine is meant to protect your child against polio. Polio causes weakness of both, could be both legs or one leg. And so your child will be unable to walk because the other leg will be non-functional because of polio. The other vaccine we give is the DPT, Hep B, Hep 2. So now, this vaccine has 5 components in each. So when you talk about the D stands for diphtheria. So this is a condition that affects the respiratory system of your child. It can also affect the skin, and it is very deadly. The next one is pertussis. So this is where a child has a whooping cough that is also deadly, and that's why we vaccinate against it. This vaccine also has a component of tetanus. Tetanus is where a child starts having spasms in their muscles, or they have their jaw locked in and they can't eat. They even stop breathing because even the muscles that control the breathing actually do get affected, and that's tetanus. The other component of that vaccine is the hepatitis B. So hepatitis virus affects the liver and can go on to cause liver cancer if your child is not vaccinated against it. The other one in this component is the Haemophilus influenza bacteria B. Now, this Haemophilus influenza can affect the brain, causing meningitis, can affect the chest, causing pneumonia. It can affect the joints, it can affect the heart. And so we vaccinate children against it because we do not want any child to have the illness from this virus. So a child is supposed to get 3 doses of this vaccine that contains 5 components in it to protect this child against these 5 diseases. So this one is given from the age of 6 weeks, and it's given injected on the thigh. The other one we give is the Rota vaccine. So Rota vaccine helps to prevent your child from getting diarrhea. Most of the children have diarrhea because they get the rotavirus, which affects their intestines, and diarrhea can be deadly. It has led to death of so many children, and so we want to vaccinate these children so that they do not get this diarrhea. The other one is PCV, or we call it the pneumococcal vaccine. So this one can also prevent your child from getting chest infection, pneumonia, and also infection of the brain coverings, which is meningitis. This one also is given from the age of about 6 weeks, and it's 3 doses, 4 weeks apart. Now, at about 14 weeks, your child would have gotten almost 3/4 of the vaccines that they need to get. The next one is measles. Measles is a disease where it affects the skin, so a child gets to have rash, and also affects the eyes. Okay, so when we give this vaccine at about 9 months, we repeat it at 1 year, 6 months as well, or 18 months. So this is to prevent children from getting the measles, and also from the measles spreading to other children, because it also has other later complications even as this child grows. So that's all about vaccinations. Your children, you need to make sure as a guardian that your children is taken for these under 5 visits so that they can get these vaccinations. The other component is vitamin A supplementation. Now here I need to mention that within 2 months of giving birth, a mother is also supposed to get this vitamin. So these vitamins are not only given to children, they're also given to mothers. So mothers do not be left out. It is required that you also get this vitamin. It also helps your baby to get the vaccine. So vitamin A is given to children starting from the age of 6 months, and it should be given every 6 months. It helps with the sight. It helps with to enable your child to see as clearly as they are supposed to. The other component of these immunizations and vitamins, things we do are deworming. Now, why do we need to deworm a child? You may not be able to tell when your child has been infested with worms, because as children are playing, especially barefooted, the worms can get in there through their skin. As they start feeding on other foods which are not properly prepared, they can still get worms from there. And so we need to deworm these children so that we can reduce the complications of the worms. Worms can lead to children having anemia. They can cause chest infections. They can also cause them to start having blood in their urine and eventually end up with bladder cancer. And so this is what we had to talk about today. I've talked about vaccinations, vitamin A supplementation, and the need for deworming. Do not be left out. Let not your child get sick from diseases that we can prevent, because we have a very good immunization schedule. So I encourage a guardian out there, a father out there, to take their children for under 5 clinics so that they can get these vaccinations. Thank you for joining us. See you tomorrow, even as we look at HIV prevention and testing at the under 5 clinics. I'm Dr. Chelo Mwanza, and the health segment was proudly brought to you by the Medical Women Association of Zambia.
That was Dr. Chelo Mwanza, and of course she was talking about vaccinations, a very important topic of discussion that we had this morning with her. If you listen to the clip, Mercy, I think most of the time as parents we ignore the aspects that are on the under 5 card.
Very much so, and it's actually quite interesting that she was talking about various types of vaccinations, and then when the COVID-19 vaccination came in, people were very skeptical, but yet you see mothers taking their children to be vaccinated, all manner 6 months, 11 weeks and the like. So it's actually pretty interesting. That
and I think a lot of mothers do not actually realize what is on the under 5 card. You know that we take this for granted. I don't know about mothers that are watching this program, and of course the fathers. We've seen a lot of fathers taking their kids for under 5 as well, and they don't even understand maybe the importance of the vaccines that are on the card. And today Dr. Mwanza just did a wonderful job explaining that. Please, if we are in the tendency of not taking our children for vaccination, I think it's high time we did that. Actually, I've learned a lot also. I didn't know about some of the aspects she's mentioned on the under 5 card. We just thought, and I remember one time having an argument with my partner where he was saying, why is it that us who are growing up a long time, we didn't even get some of these vaccines, and we've grown up very healthy? I think these vaccines are the danger and stuff like that, you see?
The times have changed, and the type of food that we eat has also changed. So in the long run, you find that some things that were done then can not be really done here, or maybe it's done but in a different way. The medication that they give is somehow different depending on the conditions that you're living in.
No, it's actually not different, but the aspect here is we see a lot of things happening. Like if you go in rural areas, we see a lot of kids with measles, we see a lot of kids with different disease, and their parents and others in community will be saying, but they are ignoring the aspect that they did not take their kids for vaccination, and maybe their child has measles, or maybe their child has tetanus because of not vaccinating. And I think this is very common in rural areas, but even in urban areas, in these compounds, when you go, you'll find kids that have these challenges that have been mentioned as a result of not vaccinating their children. And they'll be saying, what's
interesting is that how a human being grows up is all dependent on the first 5 years of their lives. So I think you're very right on that aspect. Parents, especially in rural areas, should be taking their children to these health centers so that they get vaccinated and get all these medication and the likes, because once you miss that stage, it will become very difficult for them to grow up healthy. The other day I was hearing from an expert in nutrition. He was saying if the first 5 years of a child you do not give them the proper foods that they need, they'll end up growing malnourished, and they'll have obesity when they grow up. So all those things, the diseases and problems that we're having when we grow up, some of them start from childhood. So parents there, I'm sure you have learned quite a number.
I hope if you're just tuning into Camnet TV and you're wondering what we're talking about, we are talking about the vaccinations. Dr. Chelo Mwanza was just explaining the importance of some of the vaccinations of the under 5 card. So if you missed that part, perhaps you can go back and play this clip. We are streaming this live on our Facebook page. You can just go back a little and just listen to what she had to say. I recommend this to every parent. It must be a watch. And I think she reminded me of my good old days. I think we were laughing in the background. When we were growing up, we used to have a lot of worms And you wondered why that was the aspect. But now we are seeing that reduced. I think it's because of the measures that the health facilities are putting in place by ensuring that if you give birth, you have to give birth at a health facility and ensure that you keep taking your kids and your children for these vaccinations. They'll remind you when you go to say, okay, you've taken for 6 weeks, you come back after this, and mothers are doing that. But hey, those of us who grew up that time can agree with me that we used to have a lot of worms. When you are there in the toilet, you're just busy screaming, but even that is as a result of not being vaccinated. Dr. Chelo just mentioned that. So it just brought me back good old memories of what was happening when we were growing up. I think I experienced that. And we are glad that such cases are reducing. So remember to always take your kids, pardon me, for vaccinations. Dr. Chelo Mwanza there has insisted it's very, very important. So even right about now, we are now going to look at how is it that our local currency is performing against other major convertibles. When we come on this program, we always emphasize to say we need to know how is it that our local currency is doing against other major convertibles, so that for those of us who trade, we can know what is it that is in for me today. So the Zambian kwacha against the United States dollar is buying at 16 kwacha 76 ngwe and selling at 17 kwacha 09 ngwe. The Zambian kwacha against the British pound is buying at 20 kwacha 22 ngwe and selling at 20 kwacha 62 ngwe. The Zambian kwacha against the South African rand is buying at 1 kwacha 04 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha 06 ngwe. The Zambian kwacha against the euro is buying at 18 kwacha 89 ngwe and selling at 19 kwacha 26 ngwe. That is the money market for this morning, Thursday, 16th of June 2022. And strong kwacha there. We've seen Messi, our local currency, has been stable in the past few months.
It's been very stable in the past few weeks or months rather, because of the monetary policy and the like. It's been maintained to a certain figure, and it's something very positive, I would say. Yeah. Because seeing a fluctuation in the inflation rate, it's quite scary or detrimental to an economy. So this is something that we should be happy about.
Yeah, we have hope. We have hope of recovery in our economy. We've seen a stable kwacha. When a local currency is stable, actually, it's good for those who are doing business. You would agree with me, business personnel out there, to say we need a stable currency. When the currency keeps depreciating, it becomes a challenge for you to do business. But I think kwacha has been stable. Maybe talking about that, yesterday we did see the Minister of Finance and also the IMF representatives are in the country, and they are starting to renegotiate the debt situation. We are hopeful that we are going to see something positive come out of that meeting, so that we can see more economic recovery coming into Zambia. Because right now the biggest elephant that we have in the country is this debt log, a huge debt burden of over 30 billion United States dollars of both external and internal stock of debt. That is a lot of debt for a country like Zambia. I think the debt is even more than our country's GDP. I think this is something that we need to worry about. But we are hopeful that the deliberations that have been started by the IMF will yield positive results.
But then looking at the state of the kwacha in Zambia and how it's been stable, and also looking at the fact that they have started negotiations with the IMF, of which we are likely to see in the third quarter a conclusion on if they are going to get the package or not. I feel one thing that Zambian people really look at is, how does it affect me personally? Because in as much as we may see a 16 figure to say, okay, this is the rate at which prices are increasing, or you're buying commodities at, people do not, I feel what people really want to see is, how does it affect me? If I was buying bread at 15 kwacha, does it mean I'll start to buy it at 10 kwacha? And if you can't really get to that point, sometimes you'll be like, no, maybe you're just changing the figures. You're
just exaggerating, yeah. But maybe what, again, people do not understand is, maybe for those who are watching us and they're wondering, what is the importance of Zambia coming to a conclusion over the issue of debt restructuring? Apparently, we've seen, I think I said this most of the time when I come on this program, the finance minister, Dr. Situmbeko Msokotwane, last time indicated that the reason why we are seeing maybe a stable kwacha and stuff like that is the fact that we are not currently servicing our debt. So we have some dollars in the economy. But because we have this very huge debt log, when we start to service the debt, it will mean the dollars that we have in the country are now going to start leaving. And as when that happens, there is a probability that we might see things like the kwacha beginning to depreciate. We are going to see things like maybe
circulation.
Yes, a reduction in liquidity in the economy and stuff like that, which will have an impact on you as a consumer. Because if we have no money in our economy, we have low liquidity. You know what that means for those of you who trade and those who do business. So anything that happens in our country and in our economy has an impact on you, the consumer, more especially us who are consumers, but even the producers and people who trade from outside, because you want to buy goods, but your country does not have enough dollars. So you have to spend more of your kwacha in order for you to purchase that out. But if we come to a debt restructuring situation where they tell us, okay, you have this huge debt backlog, but maybe you're going to be paying it in this certain way, that gives room for us to breathe. There is a probability that we might be repaying back that debt, but bit by bit, therefore leaving the economy with some liquidity.
It's going to be sustainable to a certain degree, because you're not paying all at once. Also bearing in mind that there are other debts that are just internal. There's an external debt and internal debt. So if such conclusions are made, it can be helpful to the economy. We won't give out all the money and start rebuilding again.
Yeah, and of course the IMF can only give us the package that they've promised to give us when the creditors, the people we owe money, come to a conclusion of how we can repay. So this is why this is important. You can't go out there. Apparently we are failing to go out there and borrow, because we've borrowed from quite a number of people, and others also are looking at the huge debt log that we have. And remember, before they borrow the things, they'll be thinking is, my friend, why should I go on? But the IMF has agreed to say they are going to borrow us some money. Of course, with the IMF, you pay over a period of 30 years, and it's interest-free for a period of 5 years. Yeah, you begin to pay after 5 years, and of course, it's interest-free. So stuff like that. So it's important that we get to negotiate with the creditors, and so we wish our Ministry of Finance and every staff that is involved in the negotiating all the best. And of course, to our creditors, we wish you all the best, even as you deliberate on the matters of national importance. Moving on now, we are going to zoom in some of the stories that made headline. Sadly, a 14-year-old girl was defiled by 3 guys, and because she could not open up over the situation, she developed a health complication and in the process died. The non-governmental organization Coordinating Council, NGOCC, yesterday visited the family of the deceased, and they've assured that justice will prevail in this matter. It is a sad situation, and we are going to go into that headline.
5 months down the line, the case of Beatrice Muloya, a 14-year-old girl of Chief Chisopola's village of Shantumbu in Kafiwa district, Lusaka province, who was allegedly defiled by 3 men, has gone cold, leaving the family question law enforcement agencies. At only 14, Beatrice's life was cut short following the alleged incident that occurred on the 26th of January 2022. She was defiled by 3 men. It took some time for her parents to find out that her vagina had started rotting from wounds and fistula. She was taken to the University Teaching Hospital, but it was too late, and she died on the 2nd of February 2022.
Dr. Jenwala, she's the one that did everything. She explained to us to say, Anastasia, the child was in pain. The child's vagina was really bad, and one of her labia was cut. So she explained to us, she told me that my results were pasa bamonga, but he doesn't know where he took them.
It is reported that after her death, the 3 suspects were first charged with murder and stayed in police custody for a good 2 months, awaiting court appearance. However, they were released on bond after the charge was reduced to manslaughter, a thing the family claims that the 3 suspects connived with the officers.
Ati banyamate bali pano tibasunga but banyamate banavomera mushe maningi ngakusanga kwamene benzo muchitava opo omuzi bako nati abasinizi bakwe ati sisizi bako banatipereka ba polisi ndiye bakambaka tizi bako banatipereka manje mazo kuli maparents benzi banabwera kuno kuchani ku polisi Maparents babwera abo babwere baindi maparents bajabana nikubwera kuyamba kukana. Wina kupamene tikapena banamutirita bwanje ti bajebenze babwera batuze tifena no.
Despite having lost a child, this family now lives in fear as family members of alleged suspects are now harassing them.
Unafa mwana watu isefuti tisobe mutendere. Bajande bali na mulandu kulise. Bafunika bakatuona batiyo. Notice tiyo pebeva. Ngati ni corruption oke pali corruption bantu bamene bapaya mundu bachoka police bond. Chilipuido naise ngati ni police bond tikachoka.
The non-governmental gender organization coordinating council NGOCC has now come forth to help the family get the justice that it seeks. The organization board chairperson Mary Mulinga has assured the family that justice will prevail in the case.
If the police who are supposed to be protecting our lives are the ones who are endangering our lives, then I don't know where we are going. Then it's very unfortunate. It's very, very unfortunate that the people who are supposed to be protecting us are the ones who are putting our lives in danger. This is a case that should be followed up. The perpetrator should be brought to book. Not imulusi omwana, and then your lives are now in danger.
According to the police, the 3 suspects were released on bond on instructions from the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, who say they are still starting the docket of the case toward the offense of manslaughter. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
A sad situation there. Condolences to the deceased 14-year-old. I'm sure she had a bright future ahead of her. That was cut short, unfortunately, by people with no... I don't even know how to describe them.
It's something very sad. And it's something I've also noticed has increased in the recent past, I'll call it. It's barely a week, and you all... Not a week passes, you hear a case of defilement or rape. And I don't really understand what can be leading to such increase in the number of these cases. Could it be... I don't really want to say dress code, because people like, people can defy you based on it. No. But then it's not dress code.
At first, people used to say that, but now this is inhuman. This is inhuman.
Very sad.
Big 3 people defiling a 14-year-old, gun raping her, and then she has a lot of bruises. I can imagine right now the pain that this young girl was going through, and she had one of her labia cut. I kind of wonder if this is a ritual activity. How did they go to an extent of even doing that to a human being? Yeah. This is very disheartening. This is sad, and now the family is being harassed after people committed crime. Please, those who deal with such issues, can we please have this issue dealt with urgently, with the urgency that it deserves? Because the family, despite having gone through that pain of losing their beloved child in such a terrible and inhuman horror circumstance, they are also being harassed by, of course, the perpetrators. We need people to move in and quickly deal with that issue, sad situation. For those watching Camnet TV this morning, we are allowing you to make your contribution with regards to that. What do you think maybe needs to be done to such kind of activities? And of course, for me, I call that inhuman, because people who really have a human heart can't do that. And we've seen people are now advocating that the death penalty should be removed from the Constitution. For me, I don't really want to sound harsh, but for people who commit such atrocities with no mercy,
we need a stiffer punishment.
We need a stiffer punishment.
Yeah.
If you send them to prison after 15, 20 years, they'll be out. And some of them will not even be remorseful for the action or what they committed. They don't even understand the pain that they made others go through. I really feel disturbed this morning. And when I saw the story, of course, yesterday, I was very disturbed, because I'm kind of imagining a 14-year-old going through all that pain. And after being raped, she didn't even open up to tell any of her relative, to an extent where a girl began to rot. Her private parts that got infected. And I think maybe they continued raping her, which led to her, and it was too late to be saved by the time they realized that something was extremely wrong. Please, our men.
It is very, very sad. I mean, I can imagine the pain the parents and the family members at large are going through, because looking at the age and I think that she went through before she died, it is really sad. And then on the aspect of, it was first charged to say it's murder, but then they reduced it to manslaughter. I don't know if you have noticed, a lot of these cases on rape and defilement, you find that it is either they give you a sentence and then they say you shall serve it consecutively or whatnot. There was a call by an activist over the same, he's an activist for child sexual abuse. He was saying that we need stiffer punishments for such cases, because we are seeing a situation where you rape somebody or you defile somebody and then they give you a 15 years sentence, or they give you a 7 years sentence, of which it's not making sense. Because it's actually today on social media, I've seen another post of a grandfather who has killed his 22-year-old who refused to have sexual intercourse with him. I'm like, so these cases are just moving in circles. The other time I saw of a 92-something-year-old man who actually defiled his 3-year-old granddaughter. So I'm like, what's really going on with such cases?
I don't know, maybe
is it a spirit of some sort?
Maybe that's my thought. I don't know. If maybe, apparently, let me just say, if maybe someone was sentenced to death by hanging, and of course we went ahead and hanged 1 or 2 people, do you think it will reduce the cases of people defiling others?
Definitely it will. Such a punishment is a major deterrent to such cases. But then again, looking at also the proposal to remove the death penalty, it might be difficult to implement such.
I don't want to sound harsh for maybe those who are watching. They might be saying, hi, you are a child of God, people repent, and how are you advocating that people should be hanged? But in such a case, I really feel bad.
It is.
I really feel bad. I think the girl didn't really deserve to go through what you cause her pain. To make matters worse, they cut her labia. Was that really necessary?
It wasn't.
And of course, she had all these sores and pain around her, and the family could not even notice, to an extent where a young girl began to rot. That is really sad. Stakeholders and others who are helping, we wish you all the best, and we hope to see this case get concluded. Even right about now, we are going to zoom in a last story that made headline. Before we can allow our guests to come in studio, we have a wonderful topic of discussion this morning. Remember, the members of parliament are proposing that they want to see a salary increase. And of course, we know that among other things, they do get paid, they do get sitting allowances and stuff like that. But they're advocating that they want to see more resources added to already what they get. But some councillors feel opposed to the idea, considering that councillors do a lot of work in the community, but they get peanuts. So we are going to have some councillors in studio who are going to be reacting to that proposal shortly. But before we do that, we are going to zoom into the last story that made headlines, and that is GEAR's Initiative Executive Director, McDonald Chipenzi, who was commenting on the current Patriotic Front situation of not hosting their convention, saying this is a democratic country. Even if they do that, it's not going to see them register their party, even if they don't hold their convention. But what that is going to do is, the Patriotic Front is one of the biggest opposition political parties, and if they have no leadership in place, it's going to be difficult for them to offer checks and balances to the current administration, thereby killing democracy. Let's see what Mr. Chipenzi has to say.
Zambia affirmed its stance as a multi-party democracy in 1991, which means that the political system allows for the existence of numerous political parties, all competing for votes from citizens through their manifestos. Since the introduction of multipartism, the country has always had a strong opposition force, the likes of the Patriotic Front (PF) and the United Party for National Development (UPND). The 2021 general elections have, however, brought questions on whether the country's democracy will survive, as the PF, which came second at over 1.8 million voters, losing to the United Party for National Development (UPND) at over 2.8 million voters, says it is now struggling to survive. This follows the failure of the PF to hold its convention, which was slated for June of 2022 due to financial challenges. Governance Elections Advocacy Research Services GEAR's Executive Director, Mr. McDonald Chipenzi, says while the PF is not under threat of deregistration, even if it does not hold a convention, the lack of a leader in the PF poses as a threat to democracy in the absence of a strong opposition. The Democratic Party (DP), which came third in the 2021 general elections, had a distant vote of 25,231, representing 0.52% of the total votes cast.
I think the biggest misunderstanding is that the vacancy at top level for the PF is creating misunderstanding that PF has not complied with the constitution. But the constitution is very clear that there should be internal elections, which the PF held ahead of the 2021 general elections. So the team that they have is a new team. The only challenge for them is that when a leader steps down, they are supposed to go to the convention. But that has nothing to do with a Republican constitution. It's their own constitution that demands that. 9 months down the road, they are failing to get good marks. In Lozi, they say noto. They are getting noto. Where are the people that were supporting them? Where have they evaporated to? So they really need to find a leader, because when you go for the campaigns, you put your leader in front, isn't it? Your T-shirts are written, vote for me and vote for my president, because my president has A, B, C, D, the vision. Now the PF has nothing. And we told them when they were contesting in Kabwata, your candidate in Kabwata is an orphan. Look for somebody, look for the president.
Meanwhile, a political activist, Mr. Dante Saunders, has also added his voice.
That's how you're going to build on democracy. And we also, as a country, we need a strong leadership in opposition. A strong leadership. And I can think of, people like the one who's Fred Membe is coming up very well. He's articulating himself very well. And he is doing the right thing. He's on the ground. This Madam Kateka, she is doing also very well. They are on the ground. These people are on the ground. They are working on the ground. They're not just blabbering away.
A strong opposition is necessary so as to keep an administration to account for its promises and preserve democracy. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
All right, that was Mark Donald Jipenzi, Executive Director for GEARS Initiative. And of course, he was reacting to the fact that even if the Patriotic Front Party does not hold its general convention, it is not going to be deregistered. But we are going to see a reduction in democracy in our country, because we need the opposition to offer critiques or to the current administration. I don't know what is your comment or your take with regards to that. But right about now, we are going to take a short breather as we allow our guests to settle. Remember, we have a topic of discussion where we are discussing, is it really necessary to increase the salary allowances for the members of parliament? Let's get to hear what we have for you after this short breather. Stay tuned to Camnet TV.
Deborah Lukalu, all the way from South Africa. You are watching Camnet channel, not just another channel. God bless you. Stay tuned. Hello, I'm Deborah Lukalu, all the way from South Africa. You are watching Camnet channel, not just another channel. God bless you. Stay tuned.
Thank you so much for still staying tuned to Camnet TV, not just another channel. Very important topic of discussion this morning. We are looking at the proposal by some opposition member of parliament that they should see their salaries increased by 20%, as well as their sitting-in allowances. They've equally demanded that they be increased to 120 United States dollars. What is your take over that for all those who are watching us in the comfort of your home or on gadgets or at your offices? You can send through those contributions to our Facebook page, and of course you can send messages. We will be able to read them, and of course make phone calls via the line that is on the screen. But to help us discuss that topic even in detail, we are joined in studio by two councillors. That is Mr. Ruben Mwenya, who's Chilenje Ward 8 councillor. Sir, good morning and welcome to the program. Thank you. And also seated just next to me is Mr. Mr. Walia, and is a councillor for Kabwata Ward 6. Sir, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Pardon me, I didn't get your surname. Mr. Walia who?
Mr. Walia Chishala.
Chishala.
Kabwata Ward 6 councillor.
Kabwata Ward 6 councillor, Mr. Walia Chishala. Thank you so much for coming through to Camnet TV to discuss, of course, an important topic this morning.
Very interesting topic indeed, because we are seeing members of parliament proposing an increase in salaries, whereas we have councillors who have been crying for an increase in salaries, and then the call has not really been heard. So it's welcome, gentlemen. We are very interested.
Maybe just throwing this to you, Mr. Mwenya. What is your reaction to the proposal by the opposition members of parliament over the same salary increment and, of course, sitting-in allowances?
I think looking at the way the country is trying to heal from all these debts that we're talking about, it's the same opposition that has put this country in a very awkward position in terms of debts. You know, we accumulated a lot of debt from the time PF assumed power from MMD. And it would be very, very unfortunate for them to advocate for such kind of increase, because the best they can do is to help the government, by all means, to reduce on the current debt that the country has been suffocated to. So it's quite a very unfortunate statement, or a very unfortunate move, if at all they are still going to insist on that one. It's not a good move, and I believe it's not going to go anywhere.
Maybe Mr. Mwenya, what is your comment with regards to salary increase for members of parliament?
Mr. Wale, it must mean, right?
Yeah, Mr. Chishala, Wadia Chishala, please.
So for starters, I think I would like to look at this from this angle. I was listening to Minister of Finance not 2 days ago, should be yesterday, where he made a statement regarding our planned bailout with IMF. So we are looking at a situation where we as a country are trying to get out of this mess which we find ourselves in as a result of the previous regime having accumulated so much debt. So we ought to now reach a point that as individuals, what are we doing for our country? Because we are looking at asking for money from outside, and the outside is looking at us. And as you've stated, it is the opposition MPs who are advocating for this. I am yet to hear of any of our MPs from UPND advocating for this. I don't think any are doing that at the moment. But it is a very unfortunate situation because we are asking for money for a bailout package and at the same time, we are looking at increasing our salaries. So now the question also should be, do they really need this? Are they getting peanuts? What is it that they've done in any case for them to deserve this increment? There are all those questions that need to be answered. So all in all, for me, and I think for many in this country, it is not something that is an issue we need at the moment.
Do you think maybe the opposition is just doing this in order to mount pressure on the now government?
Well, the opposition at the moment, when you look, when you're opposition, we stayed in opposition for a long time. We're supposed to provide checks and balances. And this does not exist as checks and balances. This is just trying to frustrate. Perhaps they know that the current government is very committed to being financially stable. They know that we are focused. So in trying maybe to send a message to IMF to say these guys are not serious with the bailout package, they are advocating for this.
If perhaps it was to be proposed by the current government members in Parliament, would it still be something to be considered? Because it's the opposition speaking now. What if it's the people in government to propose? Is it something that we can actually consider?
I don't think our MPs would do that. I don't think so. Like my colleague has just mentioned, it's a situation where you want to dent this government. Look, we are just in the midst of trying to table this debt matter. Then you hear people again talking of buying expensive luxurious vehicles at $120,000 US. It's a lot of money. Now the person who is trying to help you sort out your debt hears that again you want to buy expensive cars. They'll look at you as not being serious. So it's just a way of trying to frustrate and paint a very bad picture on HH's administration. And this is why I'm saying our MPs wouldn't do that, because all along our president has always advocated on trying to reduce on an expense by reducing on the sizes of these vehicles for ministers, MPs, trying to reduce on the amount that they're being purchased by way of saving resources. So I don't think they would be in a position to claim for that. They would be going against the policies of the head of state who they are representing. So they're not there in their own individual capacities to do just what they feel like doing, but they're going to be doing what the president is asking them to do. And one of the things they wouldn't do is to start asking for pay rises now, for talking of vehicles. Like my colleague said, what is it that they've done that we can really say, okay, the MPs are really doing it, let's try and increase on this.
I was even coming to that question. Maybe they are advocating for an increase because they are doing a lot. Let's talk about the functions that the members of parliament do. Are they really doing a lot to deserve salary increase?
What a lot is that? It's a councillor who is on the ground. And the laws are not made every day. Are we making laws every day for this country? No. But the councillor is always on the ground every day, doing day-to-day thing. They should have made this Saturday thinking of how do we increase salaries for the councillors from a mere 3 to something that is reasonable. Because how much is a house in Lusaka today? You're talking of just a 3 it's just an allowance for a house. How do you feed your family? How do you take care of these bills for your children, schools, all these things? And besides that, there's a funeral. Go and do. There is one to go and get your cancer. And this is
and perhaps just to chip in, you see, my colleague has just stated that a councillor's salary is 3,000, but fact is we are not even on salary. That is an allowance. The councillor today still exists as someone who is a part-time service provider to the people. So now, when you look at the situation now, the way a councillor was in the previous past and now are different things. Because in the previous past, it was not as busy as it is now. So when you look at our friends in countries like Namibia, countries like South Africa, they've since moved on with time. Even in Malawi, they've moved on with time. Because to state today that a councillor is a part-time service provider is very, very wrong and very unfortunate. And this is why perhaps in the previous past, what we've attracted in terms of quality of councillors has been very bad. Why? Because let me speak for myself and a few other councillors that I know are currently sitting in that chamber. A lot of us have got formal qualifications, good qualifications, degrees. All right. So a lot actually came from formal employment. So now I'll give you a situation where you were getting enough money, maybe 20,000 on a monthly basis, right? And you say, okay, you have that passion to save the people. So you say, okay, fine, let me go and save the people. And what do you find? You find an allowance of 3,000 kwacha, all right? And it is expected of you as councillor to save the people whenever there's a funeral. Of course, it is not enshrined anywhere that a councillor is supposed to provide for such services. But as somebody who's on the ground and looking at the situation in this country, you are forced to find resources here and there, okay? So we need to move with time, and perhaps this is what our MPs need to be thinking. Let us not have that mentality where we think if a councillor is empowered in a certain way, he's going to come and save us from our seats.
And challenge us in the next elections.
Exactly, but what we are forgetting is that we are working hand in hand. If a councillor is not empowered, it becomes very dangerous. Some of it, sometimes you sit and you get a call from a fellow councillor asking for 100 kwacha. You feel very bad. You feel very bad. And let me sum it up in this way before I lose my thought. When we left employment, we came to save for the people, okay? So you see, you leave your formal employment and go and be a councillor, and the councillor is a part-time. Even as of now, the act still remains that a councillor is a part-time service provider. So now, even if you are part-time, you are even told to say you can go and work. You understand? But where are you going to work? For me as an accountant, I have to go and log in 8 hours, I report, and I have to log out. So which private institution is going to allow you? Maybe you have to sit in the chamber, you have to attend certain conferences and other things. So all in all, we have not moved as a country to look at the plight of the councillors and how best we can empower them so that they can now start to save the people in a more dignified and effective way.
How best do you propose such empowerment is given? Looking also at the fact that in as much as councillors are on the ground, they also work hand in hand with ward development committees, whom, by the way, are not even on an allowance. They are working on a voluntary basis. So how best can we empower councillors to work effectively, of course, in coordination with the ward development committees?
Well, thank you. I think for starters, the first thing should be that we need to be recognized and we need to our parliamentarians to now go out and say, okay, guys, the fact of the matter is that a councillor cannot be defined as a part-time service provider. We are not part-time. We work 24 hours. So once that is now removed, then a councillor will be entitled to certain conditions. Like for instance, medical. We have no medical insurance whatsoever. No councillor is on NEMA today. So there are all those things. So the first thing you do is empower a councillor like that, so that at least you remove that thing in him where he has to now struggle to look for money. Of course, some of us, a few of us, are able to manage, but a lot are not able to manage. And that is what we are asking for. Perhaps my friend can check in terms of WDC and how effective they can be in terms of providing service to the people when they are doing it on a voluntary basis.
Yeah, thank you so much. You see, this is not a secret, and this is the reality that up to today, you see, a lot of CDF programs have not been implemented. And it is these MPs, look, in the previous regime, even before the CDF was increased from 1.6 to 25.7, the CDF still experienced challenges on implementation. And I was expecting these opposition leaders, these Benemundu leaders, to start reflecting on what were the reasons why CDF was not being implemented. Then they come on the table and start giving ideas to our colleagues. That is positive criticism or positive way of doing things, even as the opposition. They should have come on board now. Okay, since the CDF has increased to this, let's look at WDCs, let's look at the councillors who are the main stakeholders of all these things. Let us see that decentralization is actualized. All those things, those are things that they need now. Those are things that people are looking up to. All these pronouncements that have been made. This is why I'm saying that it is not possible that our MPs will agree to such a thing. My friend has already said, this is what is leading to all these corrupt things you hear. How do you expect a councillor 24/7 to be on the ground? He needs to feed. You don't think of that. How do we even fight corruption in such a manner? So those should be their number one issues to discuss on bettering the life of a person who is doing day-to-day job. These WDCs are always on the ground every day. There is a constitutional amount, a 5% administrative cost from the 25.7, but we've not seen it go even to WDCs to go and maybe motivate them. You get my point? So they must focus on such kind of things. This is not the right time to start asking for those increase, or it's like you are asking for water that is in a well to transfer it into a river. Say no, a river doesn't have enough water, so let's get even from a well. You are being unfair. You are being unfair to the head of state. You are being unfair to the system, and they are being unfair to themselves. Their consciences are not okay. All those MPs advocating for their pay rise, rise of sitting allowances, it's not making sense. They must sit down and reflect. It's not. Their consciences must be okay.
And perhaps I can amplify on that and state that, look, here we are. Last year, CDF was at 1.6 million. This year, CDF has been increased to 25.7 million. So here we are. We find a situation where we've now added more responsibility to the councillor. And remember, we are talking about the president advocating and really pushing for decentralization. So which means automatically a councillor is now heaped with more work. And as things stand, I've only had 2 MPs, that is Shakafuswa and J. Banda from Petauke Central, who said no, councillors should no longer be considered to be part-time. And when you really look at councillors and what they are advocating for, we are not advocating for a pay rise as in just now. What we are looking at is we cannot be considered as part-time service providers. So remove that. But for that to be removed, it requires Parliament to sit and amend that act. That has not been looked at. why it is like that. Perhaps you guys would invite my MPs, one or two, and try to get their views.
On the same thing you have said on the what's this, the increase in CDA from 1.6 to 25.7, putting more pressure on the councillors. Recently, the president announced that they have given you an ultimatum of 60 days, where you're supposed to, we're supposed to see these CDF projects coming to fruitfulness. So now, with these challenges that we're having right now, do we see a future where in the next 60 days we'll be able to meet up to the president's demands?
Maybe let me take that one. You see, what is going to happen there is that this is what I'm saying. That now our MPs also must be open-minded. When the president made that statement that is given councillors and MPs, what MPs should have done now is to go in parliament, go and look at the guidelines, because neither a councillor nor an MP is going to change what is in the guidelines. That is a document that is an act of parliament, and no one can change that. No one is above the law. It is a constitution matter. And what the MPs should have done to go to parliament and say, okay, the president has given us this assignment. Can we change a few things in this guideline, in this document that is delaying the process of implementing what? These projects. That is all. That is what is all needed. To change a few things in that document, then we will see the implementation of these projects. Because they'll be embarrassing our president. Because there's nothing that will happen against that document. That is a guiding document. You can't go beyond or against it. So what the MPs should do now is go to parliament fast, when is this time, review the guidelines, change a lot of obstacles, change a lot of hindrances, remove them. Then take that document back to local government. We shall now start seeing a lot of development taking place. That is what they must be doing now.
Interesting there. This is a Camnet TV breakfast show, and of course we are discussing the increase in the salaries for members of parliament. Members of parliament from the opposition have proposed that they want to see their salaries increased by 20%, as well as their sitting-in allowances increased to $120 US. So what is your take with regards to that? That is the proposal that is coming from the members of parliament. And of course we are joined in studio today by Ruben Mwenya, who's the Chilenjo Ward 8 councillor, and Mr. Wadia Chishala, who's the councillor for Kawata Ward 6. And of course they are opposing the decision by the opposition members of parliament to propose that their salaries and sitting-in allowances should be increased. For those who are watching, what is your take with regards to the topic of discussion this morning, even as we go further to discuss? So maybe before we divert from the whole issue of salary increase, I asked a question at first. Let me throw this to you, Mr. Chishala, where we are saying maybe perhaps let's look at the works that the members of parliament do. Can we really say there is a lot of work that the members of parliament are doing deserving salary increase? Let's go maybe a step by step. What are the roles that the members of parliament play in our society?
Well, thank you very much. An MP has got a very big role to play in terms of making law, as well as representing their constituency where they are coming from. But in this case, to state that they are not doing anything would be, that's another issue. Perhaps we can look at them at individual level and say, okay, from this constituency, what has this MP done? From this constituency, what has the MP done? But all in all, the role of an MP is a very, very cardinal one. And when you look at the current situation where the opposition are requesting that they have the allowances increased, you need to have certain justification. Perhaps it is justifiable because the economic situation is not good enough at the moment, but we also need to remember that we are in this situation because of where we are coming from, and that is when they were ruling. But also that at what point do we demand for money when you look at the current situation? We are trying to find a way that we come out of this trap, of the debt trap that we are currently in. So it does not make any economic sense, any financial sense for the government now to go and increase for MPs, who, if you really look at it, already are comfortable enough. A lot of Zambians will be comfortable sitting there with the allowances that they get. So there's no justification whatsoever for me that this should be done. Until we reach a point where we say, okay, the country has now performed well enough, then the MPs can perhaps move in and say, okay, this is deserving, we can move in and have our allowances increased.
Getting back to you, Mr. Mwenya, you did speak to the fact that councillors actually in these constituencies are doing a lot of work, because anything that happens, people will say, can you call a councillor, which does not reflect what they are getting paid. This brings me to this question. Do you think the low salaries that, not rather a salary, but an allowance that councillors get is sometimes contributing to poor quality of people who we see advocating to become councillors, or maybe the poor quality of councillors that we have, for lack of a better word to use?
Thank you so much. Maybe before I say that, I want to correct on the amount of the vehicle loan. The vehicle loan is not 120.
No, they are proposing an increase in settling allowance.
You said $120.
Yes, for settling in allowances, that is amounting to about 1,500. Right now, what they get, they're advocating that for settling in allowances, they move it to 120 US dollars.
120,000.
No, that is
120.
Yes, 120 for settling in allowances.
So there's a correction. There should be 120,000.
Okay.
When you do 120, it's almost what is already there.
Okay.
Yeah, so if there will be a rise, then it should be 120,000. But that aside,
yeah.
You see, my colleague said earlier that today's councillors are different from yesterday's councillors. Yesterday's councillors were those grade 7. There was no qualification whatsoever for one to be a councillor then. But today is different. For one to stand as a councillor.
Okay, maybe before we proceed, we have a caller. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
You are through to Camnet TV. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
This is Ruben. I want to contribute on the program.
Pardon? We can't hear you, sir. Please speak up.
So you want to contribute on
this is Ruben from Chipata.
It's good to know Chipata is watching this morning. Please go ahead with your contribution.
I want to ask a question.
Yes, please, ask.
What process will them be to propose for a settler when we need a product technique properly to set a term empty left? Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question, Mr. Ruben from Chipata. So he's asking what caused the opposition members of parliament to advocate for a salary increase when they are the same ones that left a huge debt backlog before leaving office. That was his question. So he's also kind of wondering, and that is why we are discussing this morning what might have led to them proposing that. And of course, in studio we are joined by two councillors, and that is Mr. Ruben Mwenya, who's the Chilenje Ward 8 councillor, and Mr. Wadia Chishala, who's the Kabwata Ward 6 councillor. And we are discussing the salary increase proposal by opposition members of parliament. They want their salaries to be adjusted by 20%, and of course they are sitting in allowances and other allowances. They are calling for an increase. So this is what we are discussing. Maybe before you go to the thought or the question that I asked, we can maybe try to just speak a little about what Mr. Ruben there has said, to say what do you think might have been causing them to propose that when they left this deadlock before leaving office?
You see, I earlier said this whole thing. Look, we have to be very strategic, or we have to be very careful. Them that are being strategic, they've brought this matter at a time when government is trying to negotiate with IMF about how they can try to have lenience on the debt that they themselves left. So it's just a way of trying to imbalance the head of state, or trying to make him look like he's not responsible enough. And this is why they would even talk to some of our MPs who would be compromising. But I pray that we don't have such kind of MPs that are going to be putting our head of state in a very awkward position. So our parliamentarians have a chief whip from our party, and we have numbers. Even if it went to be debated, subjected to a vote, it won't go through. You get my point? Because it is not amongst the agenda of government to do so. Our president has always advocated on trying to adjust on the expenses that the government is making to these ministers and MPs. That is his wish. And someone talking like that, it's like they're trying to provoke the head of state. So this is just political, this is just a fight, like, okay, let's embarrass them, let's talk about this, because so that
Okay, Mr. Chala, let me throw this to you. We have seen a situation where when the UPND administration came into power, they increased the salaries for the civil servants by 12%, of which we appreciate, because the current government believes that we need good condition of service for our people. And then the opposition members of parliament are saying the economy is hard now, things have gone up. Hey, we need a salary increase. Do you think maybe perhaps with looking at the hard economic hardship that we have around, it's very necessary to increase maybe their salary as well?
Well, this comparison for me is not, it's like you're comparing apples to amasuko. Because when you look at what a sitting MP is currently earning in terms of allowances and other conditions attached to being an MP, and what a typical civil servant is earning, they are two different things. So I don't think that would hold water to say because we increased salaries for civil servants, then we should also increase salaries.
They are saying the condition of service has, or they are saying rather the economy has become hard, and what they are getting is not enough to sustain them, so they want an increase.
Well, perhaps one day we should invite one or two so that we can sit and debate and look at what a civil servant is getting, and also look at what benefits they have as MPs. That would make a lot more sense than, because anyone can argue to say because you increase salaries for this person, I also require an increment. But from a logical point of view and an economic point of view, it makes a lot more sense that we increase the salaries of civil servants. Indeed, if it were possible, it should have been more. You understand? But as far as I'm concerned, if you become a leader such as an MP, you are actually representing the people. You are there to save. And I wish to state this. When we speak to some of our MPs, they are quick to state that you are a councillor, you are there to save the people. Don't just look at the issue of monies. All right? Yet when they go to parliament, they are the same ones who are increasing for themselves. So we have to be realistic and say, look, let's remove the aspect of greed. I think some of these things is just an issue of being greedy and looking at your immediate pocket or stomach. Because Zambians, in terms of salaries as regards the civil servants, it's still something that is quite low, going by what situation we find ourselves in terms of the economy. So to answer your question, in a nutshell, we can't compare what civil servants are getting and what benefits are accruing to MPs. So it's not a like-for-like comparison.
Okay. Just to top up before my thought can go. You see, the civil service was subjected to a very bad condition of service. And when HH came, he said, we've had a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of abnormalities in the way civil service is run. Perhaps let's try to increase and motivate them so that now we can see a civil servant that is motivated go to work with a joyful face. That is the whole idea of trying to give them that 12% increase. But even if it went to 50% or whatever it is, it won't still match with the MPs. And this is where we're saying that let them show patriotism to this country. Let them not put so much money ahead of everything, but let them show patriotism that this country is in a mess. How do we help this country to be a better country? That is what we are hoping to see, so that they can inspire us young politicians, young councillors that are aspiring to one day maybe be where they are, that you have to be a patriotic member of parliament to your country, not what we are saying. So it is not justifiable for them to cry for that at this particular time. There are some MPs that have been there for a longer period of time. They've accumulated whatever they've accumulated. So why now? Where is their patriotism towards this country, towards making this country a better country? You see, an MP should never at any point be intimidated to say, no, sting our time is my councillors because they'll come and challenge us. No. A councillor, even if you don't help them, if they have an ambition to become an MP, they'll find means and come and challenge you. They must not forget these MPs that the councillor is always on the ground interacting with the people. They are never there. And the people are even in a better position to vote for a councillor who is interacting with them. So it has nothing to say, no, let them just empower the councillors so that the councillors can work freely, give information freely to the MP. The MPs, like in the rural areas, let's say Chipata or these other areas, MPs are always in Lusaka. They have to depend on a councillor who is there day to day meeting people and him giving information to the MP who is here in Lusaka. So why not empower that councillor? You know that councillors from here has to walk from here to somewhere where there is a problem, every day walking. It's not fair. How can a service be effective? There's an emergency. A councillor cannot go there. It doesn't even have money for taxi. It doesn't even have a vehicle. These are things. We're not looking for money. What we're saying is that can you empower the office of a councillor? For instance, the councillor does not even have an office. No. Qualification of a councillor and of MP, same. No difference. Qualification, same. That's all. The only qualification to be a member of parliament is a grade 12 certificate. The only qualification for a council is a grade 12 certificate. But then why this gap? We are policy makers at local level. They are policy makers at parliamentary level. You get my point? Yeah. So there's no harm in empowering this office. Let them not be scared. These are our partners in developing this country. We are very loyal to our MPs.
Maybe I can chip in on this one. To state that, look, not so long ago, there was an issue from the Copper Belt where our fellow councillors raised an issue that they were somewhat hindered from seeing the head of state. And I would like to take this opportunity to make this plea that I think the head of state needs to find a way in which he can now start meeting these councillors, even as a whole, so that he understands what is on the ground. Because sometimes it is not what is given to him that is correct. But when he comes down to the ground and says, okay, my councillors, what is happening? Find that audience. Find time to speak to councillors. And he will get, more so especially that he's given us this responsibility by increasing CPF to such a huge amount. He should take interest to say, okay, councillors, I need to meet you. You tell me what is going on the ground. Because there's always that information distort or distortion. When you meet somebody who's not on the ground, you are getting reported speech. But when you meet someone who's actually on the ground, you will get the actual information.
All right, I would love to understand what is not justifiable, the fact that they are proposing an increment, or it's the amount they are proposing?
Everything. It's not the right time.
This is not the right time.
Okay. It's not the right time.
Look, it's like Moyam Kulomba Ubunga Paneba. And then the neighbor sees you going to buy luxurious things, like, you know, you just bought a Benz yesterday, and then tomorrow, Moyam Kulomba Ubunga. Kuli neighbor, ule changing.
Interesting.
You understand?
I understand.
So in all sense, it is not justifiable. This matter must not even be close to discussion. It must never even exist now. Let them do the best that they can by pushing that CDF projects are being done. Even those projects for 2021, which even before we became in power, UPND, they are still not being done. They must now start thinking, we didn't do this. How can we help that? Those things that we didn't manage, we have a better way of doing them. What are the challenges that we are finding? Those are things they must be looking at.
Okay, in concluding, I'm giving you maybe a minute or two to finish your thought, Mr. Mwenya. While you are finishing up your point, do you think the opposition of nowadays is doing the right checks and balances that they deserve to do?
Apparently, I've not seen any checks and balances. This is just fault finding. You see, better checks and balances are what I'm telling you. Check, there's a problem here, and the best that we're going to sort out this problem is doing this. Then people will respect you. But this is trying to find a fault or trying to create a problem, not offering a checks and balance. You asked me earlier, say, is this the reason why we are going to see poor quality of councillors because of the conditions attached to councillorship? Yes, because no one wants to be a councillor. You are making money, you are working, then you have that calling, you have that passion to work for your community. Then you go there, you go and get a 3-pin. No matter how you want to save, even a pastor, no matter how he loves his people, he has a family, he has responsibilities. And we must never pretend. There's not so much pretense. No, this is a service to the people. For me to go and serve people, I need fuel. We use personal monies, we use personal fuels. We use personal monies to contribute to these funerals. So if we're going to see quality leadership of councillors, let them take care of that. We don't want to have councillors that just they don't have what to do at Tendeko Chetting Kareko Council. What are you going to offer? You need to have a councillor that is very objective, a councillor that is going to see that his community is developed. Yes.
Mr. Chishala, I'm giving you a minute to conclude the topic.
I think I would like to hit on this point that the President has given us, is it 60 days in which to dispense these amounts. But I would like to urge the local government also, the ministry, to look into the bureaucracy that is involved in the entire process of somebody being able to access these funds. I think it is very cardinal. Of course, it's only the first time. It's our first year. So, of course, we understand that there will be hiccups here and there, and we are learning also. But going forward, if only we can work on improving or reducing the red tape that is involved in the entire process, then we'll have better access and quicker access to CDF. I think that is very important. So the authorities that are involved in making this process much easier in terms of accessing the CDF should move in and work at shortening the processes.
That was Mr. Bwalia Chishala, who's Kabwata Ward 6 councillor, and of course we also had Mr. Ruben Mwenya, who's the Chilenjo Ward 8 councillor, and we were discussing the increase, or rather the proposed increase in salaries for members of parliament. The opposition, they are advocating that they want to see their salaries increased by 20%, and of course they are sitting in allowances. Unfortunately, this is where we have to leave you, the viewer, but we are not leaving you for good. We will be coming back again with another exciting edition of the Breakfast Show tomorrow. So tune in to Camnet TV and let's get to interact. For those who are following us on our Facebook page, we appreciate your company and for all those comments that you send through. For now, this is where we have to leave we have to leave you, and from me, my colleague Mercy, and the entire Camnet TV production team, it's bye and God bless you.
God bless you.